Good morning. Welcome to WBUUC Church. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him. Every time we come into worship here, whether virtually or in person, we cross a threshold, physically or metaphysically or metaphorically, into a worshipful space. To help us make that transition today, let's take a moment to get present. Notice one thing around you in this space at home that feels sacred to you. Take it in for a moment. Hold your attention on that thing, and we'll take 3 breaths together. As we breathe in, I invite you to raise your arms up, and as we breathe out, to let them flow down. We'll do that 3 times.
This pause to notice the threshold and breathe together is how we transition from the sanctuary to the classrooms for our Sunday circles for children and youth. On most Sundays at the 11 a.m. service, the kids, youth, and circle facilitators cross that threshold after the story, but this morning's service is multi-generational, which means we are all going to get to worship together for the full hour. What a joy it is to cross this threshold and be together today. I'm Nico Van Ostrian, and my pronouns are they, them.
I'm thrilled today to welcome back to the church Peter Mayer. He has shared his gift of music very often here. The last time was during the pandemic early on for a pledge kickoff, but it was all virtual. So this is his first time back in this space in a long time. Peter's beautiful, moving music, especially his songs about interconnectedness in the human journey, continue to be such a gift to so many people. Rooted in Unitarian Universalism and connected to this church, he continues to make an extraordinarily deep and important contribution to our UU faith across the United States, Canada, and beyond. And so, welcome back, Peter. It is great to have you here. This service will happily include a lot of Peter's music. And remember, everyone, that we've got the soul work area by the windows. If you want to explore different activities designed to help all ages actively engage with today's worship service, go on over. And for you all, everybody, wherever you are, invite you, if you feel like moving to the music at any point, move to the music. It is welcome.
I'm Cecilia Dodge. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a member of our board of directors. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box or in the meditation bowl, which is in the Soul Work Center, before the opening hymn. Please gain consent before you put someone's full name in the bowl. As always, you're welcome to attend small group conversations following the service, both on Zoom and in the Emerson alcove out that way. However you participate, these small groups are self-facilitated. There are facilitation guidelines that are posted in the chat box at the end of the service and are also posted at a table in the alcove. Please grab whatever you need and then find your way there after the postlude. For more informal time of community cookies and information about upcoming events and projects, please check out the social hall. As we begin our pledge drive today, I want to share a little bit about what I love and why I love and support WBUUC. My husband, Michael Martini, and I have been members for over 20 years now. Both of us were raised Catholic, and we didn't attend church as adults. We found this church when we were not really looking for a church, after hearing Victoria speak at the memorial service of a friend. Over the years, WBUUC has consistently been a place of joy and inspiration for us and a spiritual home when we needed it the most. We've always pledged to the best of our ability. Besides serving on the board, I try to help out in the kitchen. Mike teaches OWL and serves on the NLD committee. Mike is retired now, and I've scaled back to working part-time because we're raising a grandchild. This means while we can't afford to increase our pledge, I finally have a little bit of time to give. In the past, we've had more money to give, but not as much time to give. I share my story in hope that each of you will give whatever combination of money and time works for your family. We'll take a moment to hear from two more WBUUC members.
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Kelsey Kerrigan. This is Hazelnut, and this is Tally.
And I'm Art Kerrigan. And we were asked to talk to you about why we think it's important to give back to WBUUC. And the first thing that I thought of was the quote that was made famous by Barack Obama a while back, that we are the ones that we're waiting for. It resonates with me because it's a short way to say that, we need to step up and create what it is that we want in the world and in our own little communities. And what we have here at WBUC has been very important to both of us.
One of the things that made me feel welcome at the church is that it hasn't been a problem that I need to move around during the service. That if I'm in pain, I can stand, I can sit, I can walk if I need to. It gets at all the different levels of abilities and needs that the different people in our community have. And I think it needs to be said that not everybody can afford to pledge. And I think that just means that those of us that can have that much more of an imperative to do it. Some people give to the church in other ways by volunteering or by coming in and supporting each other. And this is just one of those important ways we can give.
So we encourage everybody to join us and make the church what we all want it to be.
Thank you.
Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide nor pretend, nor be anybody other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place.
Good morning. I'm Janet Urbanowitz, and my pronouns are she and her. I grew up in a loving home with good-humored parents and doting grandparents who lived upstairs from us in a house my grandfather had built for his large family. Aunts, uncles, and cousins visited often. I had lots of neighborhood playmates with whom I ran free in the small Minnesota prairie town where I lived. If anyone had asked, "Did you have a happy childhood?" I would have answered yes. Yet, as an adult, I found myself sometimes musing about home after a friend long ago casually remarked, "Wasn't that a great place to grow up?" I smiled as if in agreement while thinking, yeah, it was good. It was okay. Why so tepid? I asked myself. An inability to attach? A failure to notice? Or what? Thinking back, I recalled how cultivated the prairie was around my small town, with crops of corn and soybeans extending for miles in all directions, and how drawn I was instead to hills and woods and lakes, finding them calming to my sometimes anxious and driven mind, and showing the kind of natural beauty that I really didn't see in my everyday surroundings. In my early adult years, I moved with my husband, Victor, to Boston, where there was nothing tepid about my response. Here, indeed, was plenitude. I fell in love with everything in the city: the people, the history, the museums and universities, the symphony, the public garden, the Charles River, even the brownstone row houses. This is home, I thought. This is where my heart is. And the hills, woods, and water are not that far away. In my many years here, I have felt the same way about living in St. Paul and working for decades in downtown Minneapolis. In addition, I've found here another deep sense of belonging that I hadn't yet discovered in my years in Boston: my spiritual home in our White Bear Unitarian Universalist church. A part of my heart still resides in my childhood home with the loving family and friends of my early years. It was my first, but not my only home. I light the chalice this morning in honor of hearts with many homes.
Please join me in the unison opening words. Love is the spirit of this church. Service is its law. Yes, our great garden, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and help one another. Our opening hymn today was commissioned and premiered at the dedication of this sanctuary. So the words we're going to hear were written about this space by Peter. And if last service holds to form, Peter will invite us to stay seated while we sing and have a little more to say about the song. Peter.
Well, thanks. It's wonderful to be with you all this morning. I just wanted to say that the song was inspired, of course, by this space and sung at its dedication. And so in the song, you hear the windows are wide, and sure enough, the windows are beautiful and wide and lovely to look through today. And I think one striking thing about this building is the exterior, which, excuse me, is designed to rust. And you probably know this, but the whole exterior of this particular portion of the church is rusting on the outside. And I thought this was such a striking thing, because so often with churches throughout the centuries, they are meant to evoke the eternal, the incorruptible, something that reaches beyond earth and is not so much of earth, points to heaven, where apparently things don't change in heaven. Well, things are always changing. We know this on earth and in the universe. And it's really this change, arguably, that has brought us here. Constant change, constant evolving, changing. And I think one of the things that's beautiful about this space, and indeed about the UU movement, is that it seems to embrace the earth and embrace ideas like rust and change as sacred as well. So anyway, I'm happy to be back in this sanctuary that inspired this song. And the reason I suggested sitting is because you may find that you don't really know where, if any place, to sing in this song. And you know, it was written with in collaboration with the choir here. And so there's a choir part and there's this part, but it's you might find it a little bit difficult to find a place for you to sing. So if you do, feel free to just listen and take it in, whatever you like, okay? The ceiling is high to let your soul rise up to the angels who teach you to fly. And when you're weary of clouds, it helps you back down and welcomes you home to this hallowed ground. It's gilded in gold, gilded in rust, for heaven below, heaven above. The heaven we know, here in this world, here in our holy church of the earth, church of the earth. And the windows are wide, so darkness and light, mystery and beauty meet you inside. And there's room enough to hold all of us who gather in friendship, gather in love. It's gilded in gold, gilded in rust, for heaven below, heaven above. The heaven we know, here in this world, here in our holy church of the earth, church of the earth, church of life, ancient and bright, life that is so. Here at our feet, here in this sunlight, in this heartbeat. Oh, it's gilded in gold, gilded in rust, for heaven below, heaven above, heaven we know. Here in this world, here in our holy church of the earth, is gilded in gold, gilded in rust, but heaven below, heaven above, the heaven we know. Here in this world, here in our holy church of the earth, the heaven we know. Here in this world, here in our holy church of the earth, church of the earth. Well, this is the time, story time for all ages. So I have a song that's geared toward the kids, to you kids, but also I think hopefully resonates with all of us. One of the things I think it's good to remember as a human being, and certainly for our children, is to try and remember and to ponder once in a while what has brought us here, that we are all part of the family of life on earth, and science tells us that now, that we are blood relatives with every living thing on earth, which is an amazing thing, I think, to think about, and that all of life, the trees outside, us in here, all living things are descendants from the very same life that was here 3,000 million years ago, when life really got started on earth. And then about 1,000 million years ago, that life started to join in multicellular organisms. And we're a part of that process. And if it weren't for all of those years, we wouldn't be here, and the things that have happened on earth that brought us here. So I think it's a beautiful story, and it's beautiful to know that story now, and to be able to tell it to our kids when we can, and to ponder it for ourselves. So here's a little song that celebrates that. You come from the time before time, before the universe was born, when there was a seed that it was inside, and then it all came crashing forth. You come from the great fire of stars. They made the atoms in your bones. They put a light inside of your heart. They put a brightness in your soul. You come from a stone's uncanny desire, beautiful yearning of the earth, beautiful longing to be alive, beautiful child of the world. You come from a vast family tree. You come from the first life to appear. You come from the land, you come from the sea, you come from 1,000 million years. You come from a fierce warrior's song, a noble hunter's eyes. You come from love, tender and strong, compassionate and kind. You come from all the hopes and dreams that made your ancestors' hearts stir. Their beautiful passions and beautiful schemes, beautiful child of the world. You come from laughter and from tears, beautiful unexpected turns from the sliver of chance that brought you here, beautiful child of the world. And you belong as much as the moon, as much as the morning unfurled, as much as the robin's beautiful tune, beautiful child of the world. And all of the thousand beautiful parts of the story of your birth are singing together the song that you are, beautiful child of the world.
This congregation is sustained by the generosity of the people who call this place home. By giving to this morning's offering, you are giving life to the programs and services that help form and grow this community. In addition to putting a contribution in the collection basket in a moment, you can also donate on the WBUUC webpage, send a check or leave a check in the lockbox outside the front office, or use the text to give option in your order of service or in the Zoom chat box. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
As we gather together in this space, maybe 90 people in this room and 67 households joining online, let's take a moment to pause. I invite you again to take a moment to look around you wherever you are in this space or at home. Take in what's around you. And then shift your gaze inward to yourself, to your spiritual core. If it's helpful to you to close your eyes, I invite you to do that. How is it with your soul today? Just notice how it is. You don't have to do anything about it at this moment. Let's take a moment to give thanks for the gifts that bless and enrich our lives, including this spiritual community and the gift of music from Peter Mayer. And let's make space to hold those near and far, perhaps including ourselves, who are suffering physical or mental dis-ease, addiction, isolation, poverty, war, oppression, other things. Let's make space for all those who have suffered over these past years, 3 years, with the pandemic, knowing that it was 3 years ago, almost to this day, that so much, including this church, shut down. I invite you especially this morning to hold in your heart trans and non-binary plus folks, including youth and children and adults in this church, as a campaign against trans and non-binary plus people has again reignited. This morning, we especially notice and lift up in our thoughts and prayers Lisa Lamb, who had surgery Friday for a broken ankle and is recovering at home. For Ryan, who is facing significant legal, health, and spiritual challenges. For a member of the church who is recovering from being struck by a car while walking. For Grace M. and 22 others who have been wrongfully arrested and charged with domestic terrorism for protesting the raising of a forest outside of Atlanta to build Cop City. We're thinking of Raphael, someone's pup after surgery. And pray for Katie, sister and daughter of Mary, Gwen, and Stephanie. Katie is getting over an illness. And now, out of the silence, I invite you to say aloud or in your heart the names of beloveds you are holding especially today. Amen.
Well, this song does have a part that you can sing on, and I'd like to teach it to you. It's pretty simple. Just goes like this. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Let's try it. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. That's it. Let's sing it together. So every time that part comes up, I'd appreciate it if you could join in. Jesus spoke, entreating them to live together in a great circle of love. And when his followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody into the circle, everybody into the circle. Oligarchs and tyrants try to keep some in and everyone else outside, till revolution sweeps across the land and the people all stand. The common folk cry, let everybody in, the circle, circle. Sometimes a circle is a class or creed. Sometimes a circle is made of only men, until Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me in, let everybody in, the circle, everybody in, the circle. Sometimes a circle is a privileged thing, excluding people for the color of their skin, till the voice of Martin Luther King says, let freedom ring, let go, let everybody in, the circle, everybody in, the circle, gay and straight, rich and poor, whole and broken, open up that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we all are one. Bring in the people, but don't stop there. Bring in the fish in the sea, birds in the air. Bring in the rivers wide and the mountains tall. We go together, not at all. Let everybody into the circle, everybody into the circle, everybody in, circle, everybody in the circle.
I feel like there's a beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship between the soul of this congregation and Peter and his music. I know that, yeah. I know that his music has been an extraordinary gift to a great many people, to individual spiritual journeys here, and also the kind of collective spiritual journey of this congregation. And I'm guessing this place has also been an influence on Peter. And I can see that symbiotic relationship, for example, in the ways that we experience this beautiful sanctuary. Peter's writing the Church of the Earth for the dedication celebration helped from the outset kind of shape the understanding in the way that everyone who was there then and the years since experiences this space. The ceiling is high, letting your soul rise. The windows are wide, so the darkness and light, mystery and beauty can meet you inside. This is a place where we gather in friendship, gather in love. Peter's song named this place. as a place that is a special, powerful incarnation of the church of the earth. So I was thinking today, in reflecting on the songs Peter's sharing, that there's three ideas that are really central to Peter's music that also feel like core ideas here at WBUUC. And the first one is inclusion, radical inclusion, and everybody in is such a powerful expression of that idea. In recent weeks and months, I've been thinking a lot about this, especially as it's become horribly evident that some politicians, yet again, are planning to center exclusion, and let's call it what it is, hatred of trans and non-binary plus people as an election strategy. It's part of a global campaign that stretches from this country to Hungary to Russia and beyond, that seeks to replace an inclusive liberal democracy with a far-right, white nationalist autocracy. And my heart is heavy, and I'm terrified for trans and non-binary people in this country and beyond. This week I was grateful to get some words from Susan Frederick Gray, who's the president of our American UU Association. As Unitarian Universalist, Susan wrote, "We are clear and unapologetic. Our LGBTQIA+ siblings are sacred, whole, and divine. We understand the full expression of the diversity of gender and sexuality as a gift. As progressive people," Susan wrote, "we know this is a fight for everyone's humanity." Sometimes I resist the word fight, but I think it's the right one for this. This church has fought for marriage equality. It's fought against other oppressions. This spring, we're considering even deepening our commitment to doing the work that needs to be done against racism and other oppression. Your witness as a congregation has mattered. It still matters. It will matter. It is saving lives, especially at this terrifying moment when the humanity of trans and non-binary plus people, including in our midst, is a bullseye, a rhetorical bullseye, and all that means for too many people. And so we must keep working to let everyone into this sacred community and into the wider community beyond these beautiful walls.
There they are. This is my everyday existence, is looking for my glasses. Okay. I mentioned during the last service, and I'll mention it again, that I'd like to invite you all to think of tuning time as time for meditation. Okay. Well, similar to the last song, this song also has a singable chorus that I'd invite you to join with me if you so choose. I'll teach that to you as well. It's also similar in that there's only a couple words to remember, which is kind of nice. It goes like, oh wait, I gotta find it here. There it is. Here's to the wonder of it all. Here's to the wonder of it all. Here's to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all. We try that together? Here's to the wonder of it all. Here's to the wonder of it all. Here's to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all. So that's a chorus, and we'll come back and please sing on it when it does. This is sort of a rock and roll song, so I'm going to turn up the guitar a little bit. Here's to the spark in the dark whence it all came. Here's to the ride on the light of the Big Bang. Here's to the photons, the mighty protons. Here's to the gravity that turned the sun on. Here's to the first twitch of life in the ocean. Here's to the magical molecular potion. Here's to the green leaf. Here's to the heartbeat. Here's to the living cell like a city unseen. Here's to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all. Here's to the seconds and the minutes and the hours. Here's to the sources and the forces and the powers that set the hills down, that spun the earth round, that turned the atoms into planets and into flowers. Here's to the infinite spaces over and under. Here's to the unreachable places, uncountable numbers, stars in the night sky, years that have gone by. Here's to the trillion atoms in your eye. Here's to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all. Here's to the burning light of the living, shining out of you and me. The 1,000,000,000-year-old fire of life's soul desire to be. Here's to the impossibilities that still happen somehow. Here's to the magnificent mystery that we are even here now, thinking and speaking, waking and sleeping, working out our destiny in this great chain of being. Here's to the ways that we're connected to each other, lovers and neighbors and friends and sisters and brothers. Here's to the flowing, the coming and going. Here's to the chance to laugh, raise a glass and say, here's to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all. Here's to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, wonder of it all. Is to the wonder, to the wonder, to the wonder of it all.
So a second core idea embedded in Peter's music that's important here is to pay attention to this beautiful web of life that we're all connected to. In The Wonder and in so many of Peter's songs, he calls us to stop for a moment, to behold the simple and the grand, breathtaking beauty and mystery of the universe, and then to wonder. And there is so much to wonder about, from the light of the Big Bang still going, to the gravity that turned on the sun, to a green leaf, to the connections that we have as lovers and neighbors and friends and kinfolk near and far. At an event a few nights ago, Peter shared his song Trumpeter Swans, and he talked about the miraculous return of trumpeter swans to the St. Croix Valley and other areas in this region, and noted that a big part of that miraculous return comes from a few dedicated people who helped make that reintroduction possible. And I want to share today that this song has special meaning for me. In the midst of one of those many valley moments of the last 3 years with the pandemic, I think maybe it was that Omicron initial wave early last year when things shut down again, including here. Well, I was driving along somewhere around here, and I was just lost in a mental and spiritual haze of despair and isolation. It felt like so much had been lost. The health of some loved ones, the very lives of some dear friends, community, any kind of hint of social cohesion in our society. And I remember at that moment thinking, which I always tried to do when I found my pity pot about the pandemic, trying to think of those who are most marginalized, who are most vulnerable, and how much harder the pandemic hit them than me. So I'm driving along, lost in all this. And then I'm listening to Radio Heartland, and Trumpeter Swans comes on. It's the first time I've heard the piece of music. And I heard Peter's familiar voice and spirit calling me, speaking truth to me. And I did stop the car. And I looked up, and I did not see Trumpeter Swans. That would have been amazing. But what I did is I did see them, and I heard them in my imagination and in my heart. And Peter reminded me yet again to stop, to pay attention, to wonder. What a gift.
Well, thank you, Roger. That would have been amazing if you had actually seen Trumpeter Swans. Well, here's a song inspired by a moving meditation, a very simple moving meditation that I'd like to show you the motions, and you can choose whether or not you want to do them while you're listening to the song. But the whole song is a description, if you will, of the meditation. So I'll recite the words and teach you the motions as I'm doing so. So, okay, excuse me. It's a breathing meditation. So the mantra is breathe in, breathe out. Hands open to the day, breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray, breathe in, breathe out. Arms reaching to the sky and circling around down to the earth. Eyes lifted to the light, to the light. Hands, branches, catching rain, breathe in, breathe out. Then rising like a stalk of grain. And here, you start low with your hands, grow them up very slowly while you're breathing in and out. Breathe in, breathe out. And then you reach the top, and the chorus comes again, arms reaching to the sky and circling down to the earth. And again, eyes lifted to the light. And then we end where we begin, hands open to the day, breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray, breathe in, breathe out. So that's it, and I will sing you the song. And as I say, feel free to or not to use the hand motions. You may just do the breathing. Hands open to the day. Breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray. Breathe in, breathe out. Arms reaching to the sky. Then circling around, down to the earth. Eyes lifted to the light, to the light. Hands, branches catching rain. Breathe in, breathe out. Then rising like a stalk of grain. Breathe in, breathe out. Arms reaching to the sky. Then circling around, down to the earth. Eyes lifted to the light, to the light. Hands open to the day. Breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
And so a final core idea that's so valued here, expressed in Peter's music, is to take the time to center ourselves. In this world that can rock and roll and sometimes beat us down with change and loss and human atrocity, we must tend to our souls and to our spirits. We can't live in this world and begin to do what we need to do together to bring more love and more justice into the world without doing the soul work. And centering on breathing, this thing that we do all the time that we're alive, is such a simple and omnipresent way to center ourselves. So include everyone. Pay attention and wonder. Take time to center. Being part of this church community, I think, reminds us all to do these things. It helps us do these things, and we help one another do these things. And it is in doing this that together we grow our souls and serve the world in love. Friends, this church has been through a challenging 3 years. Not just the global pandemic, but losing a beloved minister of 22 years, music directors, so cherished, who are here even longer, our operations director, Anna, and now Reverend Sarah, leaving. Some folks, fewer than I expected, honestly, but still not an insignificant number, have moved away from participation here, maybe some temporarily, others for good. And so much of what you may have all taken for granted in this church before that abrupt stoppage 3 years ago, so much of that was challenged. And so when you return to the building, at whatever point, and some of you I know even haven't yet, you will notice that some of the beloveds are no longer here. That is hard. It's been hard. And you have weathered it all. You've not shied away from leaning into the grief and the loss and the change as you traveled through this valley together. You have together done such good, hard work. And together, you're beginning to emerge into this post-pandemic-ish world with so much that's changed, but still here, so much of the core, still here, like these three ideas celebrated in Peter's music. And now, to me, you are poised on the cusp of this new lead minister coming, in this new era beginning, a new era that's built so much on a foundation of love, a strong foundation, a foundation that's been tested and has survived. So this month, we invite all of you to contemplate this church and the place it has in your life and in the life of this Northeast Twin Cities region. This is what the pledge drive really is about, a chance to contemplate what this church means to you. I think when we care about something, we give it love. In a church community, when we care about it, we give it our love. We give it our time, our talent. We give it our vision, our leadership, our ideas, our questions, and yes, our money. This morning, I'm thinking about Reverend Gail Seavey, who started here in 1990, and I'm thinking about Victoria, who started in 1999. Both times, White Bear took off after kind of a rough patch, took off quickly and amazingly. And I think you are poised to take off again. I'm actually more confident saying that than saying that spring is going to come. And friends, having a successful pledge drive over these next weeks will really help that taking off happen. So we're inviting you, if you are able, not everyone is, but if you're able to think about increasing your pledge 5 or 10%. Again, some won't be able to do that, some will be able to do more. We are taking a big step toward to a more sustainable budget, but also more sustainable income, hopefully. And this will allow us, I'll be gone, but you to do things like really increase music staffing and have the choir not once a month, but back to twice a month as part of the services. I have no doubt that together, with each person here doing what they can, you can meet this goal and you can make sure that this new partnership with the lead minister is propelled into this beautiful new era. So take some time, contemplate what this church means to you, then take some time to discern what kind of financial gift you'd like to give to the church for the next year starting July 1, and figure out what's meaningful for you. My motto about this isn't to give until it hurts, it's to give until it's meaningful. For my wife and I, after several years of effort, we figured out and arrived at giving away 10% of our income to organizations that we love and that are helping to create a world we want to see. And not everyone can do that, of course. We feel lucky to be able to do that. And also it is such a source of meaning and joy. So, 2 things then: discern contemplate what this church means to you, discern your own pledge. And then the third thing to do is to turn in your pledge. To be blunt, there is no bigger waste of volunteer and staff time than chasing people down for their pledges weeks after the campaign began. I'm leaving. I can say this. So again, take a little time, maybe a week. How about a week, max, to contemplate what this church means to you, to discern what you're going to give, and yes, turn in your pledge. It's pretty simple. If you want more information about the pledge drive, there's a table in the lobby you can check out. Contemplate what the church means. Discern a pledge, get the pledge in. That's all I have to say about that. And we'll move to our closing hymn. I want to introduce this before we do it. It's Blue Boat Home. It clearly is a favorite here. I suspect some of you think it's only, maybe primarily a favorite here because Peter is a friend of this church. What I want to tell you today is that I think this is the most beloved hymn in the UU, North American at least, world. Yeah, it's an amazing gift. Peter will say maybe a little more about, he didn't write the music, okay, but the words, the reimagining of this hymn is incredible. I've personally, for me, when I was thinking about my last service in Appleton after 25 years of ministry there, I knew the service had to end with Blue Boat Home. And every time we sing it, I'm transported to that moment. So this time, we do invite everybody to stand in body and spirit and join in singing this beautiful piece of music.
Low below me I feel an ocean standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my darling heart can sing. I've been sailing all my life now, never harder or port have I known. The winding universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my crew. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leading over the edge it wander, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions. Are we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful room? I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Lead the infinite sea before, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port am I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue.
Please join me in our unison closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.